Hello everyone, welcome to the online classes for class 8. Today we'll be studying about the second chapter, that is the Union Executive. I hope you all are staying safe, healthy, be with your family members and do not step out of the house. And together we can fight against this deadly pandemic. Starting with the chapter. In the last chapter, we studied that the Indian government has three organs: the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. The legislature makes laws, the executive executes or enforces the laws, and the judiciary, it maintains law and order in the country. As you can see, the executive consists of the president, the vice president, the prime minister, the council of ministers, and the civil servants. President is the head of the executive. So the whole of the executive, it comprises of all these things: the president, the vice president, the prime minister, the council of ministers, together with the civil servants. These all constitute the executive. President is the constitutional head of the executive. He is also as the nominal head or titular head. That means that though he exercises lots of powers, but all the powers can be exercised only on the advice of the prime minister and his council of ministers. So as a matter of fact, president is just a nominal head. The government is effectively run by the prime minister and his council of ministers. And thus, we can say that the real executive or the real power rests in the hands of the prime minister and his council of ministers. Now, to seek an election for being the president of a country, the person should have certain qualifications. First and foremost, he should be a citizen of India. Second, he or she should be above the age of 35 years or should have attained the age of 35 years. And thirdly, he or she should not hold any office of profit under any government. The elected members of both the houses of the parliament and the legislative assemblies elect the president for a period of 5 years. They cast their votes and they finally elect the president of the country. I repeat it, all the elected members of the House of Parliament, that is the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha, together with all the elected members of the legislative assemblies or the Vidhan Sabha, they elect the president for a period of 5 years. So once the president is elected, he remains in the office for a period of 5 years. This means that the tenure of the president is for 5 years, and he can also be re-elected after the expiry of his tenure. A person can contest re-election for the president only after he or she completes his or her tenure of 5 years. So let us recap this part again. The executive, it consists of the president, the vice president, the prime minister, the council of ministers, and the civil servants. President is the constitutional head of the executive. He is just a nominal head or a titular head, or you can say he is just a puppet in the hands of the prime minister and the council of ministers. The real executive lies in the hands of the Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers. For being qualified for being a president of a country, the person should be a citizen of India. He or she should be above the age of 35 years of age, and he or she should not hold any office or profit under any government. Coming on to the election part, all the elected members of both the houses of the parliament, that is the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha, together with the legislative assemblies of the state legislature, they elect the president through casting their vote. Once the president is elected, he is there in the office for a period of 5 years. The president can re-elect himself only after the completion of the 5-year terms or the expiry of his tenure of 5 years. Coming on to the powers of the president, it's divided into 5 parts: executive powers, legislative powers, judicial powers, financial powers, and the emergency powers. In the executive powers comes all the appointments done to the Indian government, which includes the Prime Minister and the Union Ministers, that is his Council of Ministers. He appoints the state governors, the judges of the Supreme Court and the High Courts, the Comptroller and the Auditor General, the Attorney General, and the members of the Union Public Service Commission. He is also the commander of the armed forces. That means he is the commander of the defense of our country, which includes the army, the navy, and the air force. All the contracts and treaties with foreign countries, they are made only in his name. The appointment of the foreign diplomats, the appointment of the ambassadors to various countries, they all are appointed by the president. So on the whole, all the appointments, they come under the executive powers of the president. Remember, all the appointments to the various commissions, to the various departments, they all are done by the president. Coming on to the legislative powers. In the legislative powers, the first one is, thirdly, no bill can become a law without the signature of the president. So all the bill passed by the parliament can become a law only after the signature or assent of the president. The president also issues ordinances, that means orders. They are orders which are issued when the parliament is not in session. Proclamation of emergencies, that means that a state of emergency is proclaimed in the name of the president and the Union Council of Ministers by using the emergency powers in his name. So an emergency is declared by the president only after in consultation with the Council of Ministers. As already told before, that the real executive are the Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers. So while issuing a proclamation of emergencies, he has to take the advice of the Council of Ministers. He also addresses the joint session. That means that the president addresses the two houses jointly when they meet for the first time after the general election. You have general election after every 5 years, until and unless the case arises for a midterm election. That means the election being held in the middle of the tenure of 5 years. So after every general election, the president addresses the two houses jointly. He also addresses the joint session of both the houses at the beginning of every year. That means that he addresses both the houses of the parliament, that is the Rajya Sabha and the Lok Sabha, as soon as the year starts. This year doesn't mean the new year, it means the new fiscal year, that is the new year according to the government or according to the Indian legislature. So you have the fiscal year from April 1st till the March 31st. So on April 1st you have the joint session of both the houses of the parliament being addressed by the President of India. And also he addresses the joint sitting of both the houses of the parliament after every general elections is held. Coming on to the judicial powers, first one is that he is not answerable to any law court except in case of impeachment. That means that the president is not answerable for any of his duty to any law court. That includes the Supreme Court. He is only answerable to the courts when he is facing a trial of impeachment. A president is impeached if he has violated the Constitution of India or if he is not working properly according to the Constitution. Then the president is impeached by the parliament with a 2/3 of majority in both the houses. And once the impeachment is done, the president is removed from his office. So he is only answerable to the court in case of impeachment. Secondly, he can pardon, remit, or suspend a death sentence. That means that he can pardon or remit or even suspend a sentence of punishment given by a court martial or a death sentence passed by the court. Any person who has been given a death sentence can give his or her plea to the president, and the president can consider whether he should pardon him or whether he should not pardon that person. Coming on to the financial powers, the president causes the budget to be presented to the parliament every year. That means that the budget to be placed to the president before it is introduced in the parliament. The budget has to be placed in front of the president before it is presented in the parliament. Also, no money bill can be introduced in the parliament without his prior approval. All the money bills which deals with the financial matters of the country, they need to get a prior permission from the president before it is introduced in the parliament. Thirdly, he appoints the finance commission from time to time to determine the distribution of taxes between the union and the states. Whatever is the expenditure needed to be divided between the union and the states, he gets the information through the finance commission, who is appointed by the president. The last powers of the president is the emergency power, which falls under three categories: the national emergency, constitutional emergency, and finally the financial emergency. The national emergency means that if the security of the country is threatened by external aggression or internal rebellion, that means if your country is at war with any foreign country, or if you have any kind of civil war being taken place inside the country, then a national emergency is declared by the President. Constitutional emergency means that if there is a breakdown in a particular state, then that particular state comes under the President rule. The governor requests the President to declare the state to be under the President rule. The third one being the financial emergency, which means that if the country's financial status or stability is threatened, then the President can declare financial emergency in the country. So these are the powers of the President: the executive, the legislative, the judicial, the financial, and the emergency powers. So just a quick recap of whatever we have done. The executive consists of the President, Vice President, Council of Ministers, Prime Ministers, together with the civil servants. Dealing with the President, he is the constitutional head, the nominal head, whereas the real executive lies in the hands of the Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers. He is elected by both the elected members of both the houses of the Parliament and the legislative assemblies for a period of 5 years. In order to be qualified for being a president, he should be a citizen of India, 35 years of age, and not hold any office of profit. Coming on to the powers of the president, executive powers, all the appointments come under it, which includes the Prime Minister also. Legislative powers, he can call or prorogue or dissolve the Parliament. He nominates 12 members to the Rajya Sabha and 2 to the Lok Sabha. No bill can become a law without his signature. He issues ordinances when the Parliament is not in session. He can also declare emergencies only with the consultation of the Council of Ministers. And he addresses the joint session after every general election and after every starting of the year. With regards to the judicial power, he is not answerable to any law court except in case of impeachment or his removal. He can pardon, remit, or suspend a death sentence of a guilty person. With regards to the financial powers, budget before being introduced in the Parliament has to be placed in front of the President. All the money bills relating to the finance, they all have to be before being introduced in the Lok Sabha, has to take the prior permission of the President. He also appoints the Finance Commission, who deals with the expenditure that has to be divided between the Union and the states. Finally, with regards to the emergency powers, it's divided into 3 categories. You can declare a national emergency if your country is at war with any foreign country, or if you have a civil war inside your own country. If there is a breakdown in a particular state, then the governor of that particular state requests the President to declare that state under a President rule. Finally, the financial emergency, if the banks go bankrupt or the financial condition of the country is not stable, then the President declares financial emergency. So this comes to the end of the first part of the Union Executive. The rest of the part, that is the Vice President, the Prime Minister, the Council of Ministers, and the civil servants, will be dealt in the next video. Thank you for watching it and stay safe.